Hello and welcome to another episode of Come Back Stronger, where we bring you stories of people who have faced adversity, have risen to the challenge, and have come back stronger.
That's
I am
right.
Jimmy Fasig, and I'm here with my law partner Dana Brooks, and we are so excited to introduce you today to Leon Brunson.
He's awesome.
He is very cool. He was on the Hulu Secret Chef.
Yeah.
And so he is kind of a TV star, but he also has a story to tell.
Yeah,
so
he does.
what do you think about Leon?
I love him. Like you, Jimmy, he's a local celebrity. He's beloved in our community. Everybody knows him. You probably have maybe bid on him in a silent auction because he's very generous with his talent. And so he may do private events, private chefs or whatever, but he came up through very humble means. He was a line chef at Waffle House and just fell in love with it. When everybody else had their passions in high school and they knew what they wanted to do, he's like, I really kind of like doing what I'm doing, so let me figure out how to make some money at it. But along the way, of course, like so many of us, he experienced some challenges with the diagnosis, a medical diagnosis that brought his father to his knees. And so he's a real inspiration.
Very
he tells
cool
you to
guy.
Get up and follow your passions. He's all about the things Jimmy Fasig loves.
I love the fact that he started off at Waffle House because I started off working at McDonald's and Burger King.
You owned it, though.
Yeah,
You owned it.
That's what. But he developed a love for food.
Yep.
And that love has translated into what he's doing now, and him ended up as a Hulu Secret Chef.
Yep.
It's very, very cool. So anyway, we are going to go to a commercial break, but when we come back, we're going to introduce you to Leon Brunson.
Well, when you have to place a monetary value on a loss of a life or a loss of enjoyment of life or pain and suffering, it's not going to be cheap.
Life all comes down to a series of moments. And if somebody comes along and takes away some of your joyful moments and replaces them with painful moments, then they've taken away something of value, something that you're never going to be able to get back.
And it wasn't for sale.
But it's our job to really determine what that value is by looking deeply at the details of our client's suffering and literally how this has affected them from the moment they wake up in the morning until when they go to sleep at night, or even sometimes when they can't sleep at night because they're in pain all night. Those are the things, the details that go into determining the value of a case, that it's our job to make sure we get the full and fair value. Welcome back to Come Back Stronger, where we're introducing you to Hulu's Secret Chef, local celebrity Leon Brunson. Stay tuned.
Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Absolutely, yeah, it's gonna be fun.
So Leon, you are a chef, and you recently went on Hulu's Secret Chef competition, is that right?
Yes, that's right.
And that's streaming now on Hulu.
It is now on Hulu, so all 10 episodes of the show are out, so you can binge the whole thing.
That's awesome. So tell us how you got to be a chef.
Oh goodness, so I don't have the story that most chefs have where they're in the kitchens cooking with their grandmothers or their mothers. My love for food comes from when I had to work at Waffle House. So I worked at Waffle House, and when it was towards the end of my years at high school, everybody wanted to be doctors, they wanted to be engineers, and I was like, oh, I don't really have a passion for too much other than saxophone and working at Waffle House.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, let's just see where cooking can go. So we had a culinary institute in Panama City Beach, that Gulf Coast State College, and they were a great culinary program, and they had just had brand new facilities. So
Nice.
I ended up just wanting to know more about food, but at the same time, I was a hyper picky eater. So I didn't have any sort of reference points. I didn't have like any recipes I loved. I was learning about food as I was like learning how to cook it. So it was a different experience for me.
Did you like the food at Waffle House?
No, I didn't even eat I liked the All-Star. I had the scrambled eggs, the toast, and the grits, but that was it. I didn't eat anything else other than that. Maybe like the chicken and the Philly cheesesteak, but no vegetables, nothing that was weird in texture. I was so picky. I love the bacon though.
The All-Star is my favorite at Waffle House.
What's your All-Star order?
Oh, it's eggs, hash browns,
How do you like your eggs?
sunny side up,
Okay.
and then a chocolate chip waffle.
Okay.
No
So
meat, 'cause I
have
don't
you
eat
ever seen how they do their orders at Waffle House?
They call them out, right?
Right. And then so that was what was addicting to me, is that they don't have tickets. The last cook on the line, they have to take a plate, and depending on where they put these jelly markers on the plate, the pen will tell the egg cook what the order is.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
for your order, you would put a jelly packet at the very top of the plate and then a little bit of hash browns. And I could look down and say, that's an order of sunny side up eggs with hash browns and toast.
So you enjoyed cooking and you enjoyed the rush of it, but still a picky eater.
Mm-hmm.
But you went to culinary school, loved it more?
Yeah, so I went, before culinary school, I worked at a restaurant in Panama City Beach called Firefly. And I went straight from Waffle House to this casual fine dining restaurant that was gorgeous. The chef had cooked in the Olympics in 2012. Obama had ate there. So it had a really big reputation. And I came and I was like, hey, I want to learn how to cook. And they had all kind of laughed at me because I had no classical training. I just liked working at Waffle House. But that whole team took me on and for 3 months basically gave me a crash course in how to be a fry cook, how to be a baker, how to run catering operations, sushi, dishwashing, prepping lamb, shrimp. And so when I got to culinary school that following August, although I had no experience with food whatsoever, that time at Firefly really prepped me to understand what culinary school was going to be like. And from that point on, it was like 14-hour days. I'd work culinary school from 7 a.m. until 2, and then Firefly would be 3 until 11, like 5-6 days a week. So.
Wow. So you were working hard.
Yeah, and I just loved it, though. It was like the more I worked, the more I learned. So I felt really good doing what I did, even though it was tiring.
So you had that passion and you graduated from school, but then something horrible happened to your family. Tell us about that.
So it was like in the middle of culinary school, and at this point, I'd mentioned the long days. So it was like my dad, he had a brain aneurysm in 2014, completely random. My mom was home with him. He was complaining about these headaches, and then went down with a stroke. And we had the paramedics from the city of Parker, which is inside Panama City. But he was the public works supervisor for the subdivision Parker. And we had firefighters and police at our house that was like kind of shocked at what had happened because it's Cecil that they're working on, my dad. So he ended up getting flown to Gainesville, had a couple of like emergency operations. And luckily Shan saved his life. He has a full recovery, and the only problem he has now is like, he's got short-term memory.
Yeah.
But during that time, it was more like, well, I was missing birthdays. I had missed, a lot of times with my first niece, my dad, my mom. They were kind of, things were kind of rough in the family, and I just was always at work. So I decided myself, I was like, well, I'd rather go into a field where I can have weekends off and spend time with my family and make these memories, because the way this industry is looking, it's like that's not going to be possible.
Yeah.
So I decided to go into neuroscience right after my dad's brain aneurysm. So it was kind of a big shift from culinary.
And then you got a bachelor's degree in neuroscience, is that right?
Yeah, so basically I got my culinary degree, and after that I decided to move here to Tallahassee and go to Florida State to get my bachelor's in neuroscience. And it was a good field, like it was a great job, or it was a great program at Florida State. The only thing was I was also working at Cool Beans Cafe at the time, and it felt like Waffle House did, like that rush of assembling plates and everything very fast. Except it was Cool Beans. It was that same open style kitchen, so it resembled like my first restaurant. The food was amazing. You got to talk to guests from all around the country at the bar, and everybody always came happy. The team was great. So although I got my degree in neuroscience and I did what I wanted to do, the entire time I was just thinking, like, man, I have so much more fun working at Cool Beans.
The restaurant industry was tugging at your heartstrings.
It pulled me right back. Yeah.
What I love about your story is that you had a passion, you made a decision to switch away from it, but even though you'd invested in the neuroscience degree, when your heart was still with cooking, you went back to it. I think that takes a lot of courage.
It was tough. It was tough, especially because people at the time told me, chefs don't make a lot of money. They were very pessimistic towards the career field.
Yeah.
Although it was like fun and exciting, the reality of it was like, will this pay your bills? And that was what most people hit me with. And so the whole reason I chose neuroscience was because in my head, I'm like, brain research, lots of money, time with family. But with cooking, it was more so like, I don't know how to even make a living with something like this, but I'm gonna try and we'll see how it works. So yeah, it did take a lot of courage to kind of just say, okay, well, like, let me put this on the back burner and maybe put a little more attention into cooking and see where it leads me. And man, it's been awesome.
How many years ago was that?
That graduated in 2018, so that was 5 years ago.
Okay.
So
we've got to go to a commercial break, but when we come back, I'm excited to talk about what you've been doing since then.
What a cool guy.
Yeah.
And one thing that I do love about his story, it's not your typical comeback story. So
No.
here's what happened. his dad has an aneurysm, a brain aneurysm, and so he gets inspired to go study neuroscience, which is about the brain. And so, but he had this love for food, so he, instead of going further in neuroscience, he went back to what he loved, and he's getting success doing what he loves.
Well,
it just kind of shows there's more than one path. You don't have to follow one single path to come back stronger.
But you know what I do think it means, and you say this all the time, is if you follow your passion, the path will appear.
100%.
And there's not just one path, because you may be passionate about more than one thing. But here's the one thing that I do believe is, even if it's not your passion, if you have to get a job, you have to put food on the table, you have to live or whatever, walk through the door that is open, okay? Walk through the door that is open. You'll meet people. You'll find people. You'll get interested in things. Even if you do it on the side, you'll find other people are interested in it. There may be job opportunities there or business opportunities there. But get off the couch and get off Zoom and walk through the door. And that's what I hear him doing. He's like, I don't know what neuroscience is. What is this? But I need to know now. The most important person in my life is dealing with something that if I was educated in this, I would be able to help him more and be a better advocate for him. So let me get my learn on in this regard. But that doesn't mean that I've got to do only this. You put that in your back pocket. I guarantee you that neuroscience degree is going to help him throughout the rest of his life.
100%. Yeah. I mean, there's neuroscience in the art of culinary arts. There's
fine motor
neuroscience.
skills, all that.
No, that can make him become the greatest chef that ever lived if he really puts
those two things
together, which is really cool. And I love what you say about walk through the door that is open, because what happens is when you walk through that door, then other doors open up for you. And I love that. And that's exactly what he's doing.
He's
very,
an inspiration.
very cool guy. And the second part is even better than the first part. Can't wait for you guys to see the second part. We're going to go to a commercial break, but when we come back, we will see the second part of the interview. Excellent service, 100 times more responsive than other attorneys I've worked with. Highly recommend, especially attorney Kimmy Hogan. She is fabulous.
Yes, she is.
It's all about communication. The number one complaint about lawyers is my lawyer never calls me back. But the number two complaint is my lawyer never calls me and tells me what's happening with my case. That's why I love reading a review like this, because I know, Kimmy, you are really good about calling your clients, letting them know what's happening with the case, keeping them informed every step of the way. Because what you got to remember is that these clients, this is their first case a lot of times. They've never been through this before. They don't know what to expect. Am I doing the right thing? Am I getting the right medical treatment? Am I actually going to get a settlement at the end of the case? So they need that reassurance, and they need to know what the process is every step along the way. Welcome back to Come Back Stronger, where we have introduced you to the chef Leon Brunson, who was on Hulu's Secret Chef and is a local celebrity, and he's telling the second part of his story right now.
All right, welcome back. So we left off, it's 2018. You had just gotten your degree in neuroscience, but Cool Beans Restaurant had pulled at your heartstrings, and you'd made the decision to go back to cooking. Walk us forward in time and tell us what happens next.
So the first thing was it was everything was like the perfect storm. The first thing was Brown's cooking classes. So I started teaching cooking classes at Brown's, and I was teaching how to make pasta. I was teaching vegetable classes, soup classes, and it was my first independent thing outside of a restaurant. So I was getting connected with these people, and they were following my Facebook page. And although they were customers of the service, it felt like by the end of it, I had 25 friends who would leave each class. So it was like, okay, this is kind of fun. Each person, you got a personal relationship with, and each cooking class kind of made that a lot more reassuring for me as an independent cook, because it's hard when you're a cook at a restaurant. You think maybe are my skills good, or am I under the, am I just executing what the executive chef is his skills? So outside of that, it was cool to kind of build your own community and start to, get some reassurance that, okay, maybe I am pretty decent at what I do. And then I was also doing some private chef work as well. So it started as cooking classes, and then people in the community started to kind of know about me, and they'd come to Cool Beans and recognize me. So things were kind of happening fast. I started to do outside caterings, and then at the time, the owner of Cool Beans Cafe, he had purchased Mickey's Lakeside Cafe, which was in Lake Ella. So he had spent about a year renovating it and kind of working on the construct of it. And come around March of 2020, he comes to me jokingly and asked if I wanted to buy a restaurant. So I was like, well, like, what's that number look like? You know, so I had never been interested in anything business related. I had never done any sort of like financial consulting, or I had no idea where to even start with business. And I knew that location was great. And I only had, like, in my head, I had 2 days to find out how to come up with the money for this, and also a plan and a concept.
Yeah.
So for like, I think it was 9 days I ended up spending on this. I ended up getting a business plan together. I went to the FAMU Small Business Development Center to work on a financial plan. And then I went to Keith, and he told me the restaurant was sold the day prior.
Oh.
So I had just gotten the funding and everything.
I did not expect the story to go that route.
Yeah, I was like, I was super nervous. Like, I woke up that morning, I was like, all right, big day today. Like,
oh no.
But someone had gifted me with the funding. I had the plan, the concept, and he's like, yeah, I just sold it yesterday. And I was heartbroken, because I didn't want to stay in Tallahassee at the time. I wanted to go to Seattle. I had worked at a restaurant called June Baby, and I was pretty set to go to Seattle. But everyone's like, just see if it's for you. I was like, whatever, I'll see it. And then that was, to me, a sign that, like, it wasn't for me. Get out of Tallahassee.
So did you get out of Tallahassee?
I was planning on it, and COVID happened like 3 days after that. So it almost was like a blessing that I didn't get the restaurant, and that COVID happened.
Because it would have been a really challenging time.
Yeah, it would have been tough.
Walk us forward. COVID happens. Super challenging time for people in the restaurant industry. What do you do during that time?
So I kind of resort to what I know. I do cooking classes. But since I can't leave the house, what I do is I set up a studio inside of my own apartment. My roommates were great, and I would just start streaming free cooking classes on Facebook. Nice. So the same thing I was doing at Brown's, I was just doing for free for people inside their homes, saying, here's a couple ingredients, and you can just make a meal at yourself. So I did that, and then I got really interested in it and started kind of investing into a more production-style studio. And I tell you, that was probably, although very expensive, the best thing that could have happened for my career was actually investing in the production of the craft that I do.
Yeah.
And what I did was I started to do more cooking classes and up the production quality of them, which they eventually got picked up online. Somebody in Tallahassee was like, hey, do you do in-home dinners? So this was around October of the pandemic. I was like, well, I do. Like, I'm a private chef for a family now, but like, I haven't done a dinner outside of them, but I'm sure I could. And I went and did this dinner. It was an amazing dinner. They posted about it on Tallahassee Foodies, and this was October of 2020. And every month since then, I have not went a month without a reservation or a booking privately. So, like,
very cool.
Tallahassee Foodies, like, the buzz around the service that I was providing during the pandemic, where people still wanted the level of quality of food, but they didn't really want to go out and get it.
Yeah.
It would just come to you, was super attractive. And just like the cooking classes, when I would go to these people's homes, it didn't feel like I was cooking for clients. It really felt like, eventually we would make a friendship, and then we'd go that way. So again, it felt like building community. So
what are you doing mostly now?
So now, fast forward, I get the restaurant. Again, I go back to Keith, and I was expanding so much through these cooking classes, and the owner of Cool Beans, I said, hey, if you still got the location, I'm interested. Like, I'm seriously, this would be something that I need a commercial property to work out of. And then, we worked out a deal, and so I got the restaurant, and that was
the same one,
same
that
location.
You lost, but how many years later?
That was a full year later. It was 1 full year later.
And that was the right timing for you.
And it was perfect. It allowed me to actually spend some time on business and understand the concepts of it. Went to him, and he was like, yeah, by all means. So it went great from there. And so what I'm doing now is really working on that infrastructure for the restaurant. I think I took a lot of notes of what was going on with the restaurant scene around the world. With, takeout was a little bit more popular. I wanted to focus more on the quality of food and less about the volume. And then it's also a struggle because I had to combine my catering services into catering service and restaurant. So expanding capacity was something that I had to do very quickly. So that's what I'm working on now, is more of working on the business side of launching the opening of Leon's at Lake Ella, as well as maintaining the catering that I've been doing over the last 2 years.
And starring in reality TV shows.
And when in my spare time, I do spend a little... I do spend a little time on TVS.
I'm so excited for you and your success. Before we end, I do want to talk about a little bit about how you're giving back to the community. You're on the board for Second Harvest of Big Bend. Tell us what kind of work you're doing there.
So with Second Harvest of the Big Bend, I serve on the development and the governance committee. So I work a lot with the, expanding the reach of what Second Harvest does, as well as a lot of the verbiage in our policy. So really my biggest goal as a chef involved with Second Harvest is to get more cooking classes, more recipes, and more food-related information to these people who are receiving their boxes, or people just in general. So I think that could be the greatest thing. My goal is essentially I want to lower the bandwidth needed for people to cook delicious meals.
Yes.
And that would be amazing for me.
So folks that are stressed out, trying to make ends meet, taking care of their family, they get a box of food from Second Harvest of the Big Bend, and it's got instructions from Chef Leon.
Here's how you make it, and it's a video of me making it, whether it be
Yeah.
at my own home, at the restaurant, or even just information about the ingredients. Now that's gonna be a little bit ways out, like it's still in its developmental stages, but that would be the ultimate goal for me, is to be able to connect a lot more with the community through that route.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you so much for coming on.
Absolutely, yeah, it's fun, so I appreciate it.
Love that guy, love
Yeah.
the story, and the cool part is, like every great comeback story, is that he has taken all of the challenges that he's faced, and he has come back stronger and given back to the community.
Right.
Being part of the Second Harvest
Yeah.
with the goal of helping reduce the bandwidth that it needs for people to prepare delicious
Yeah.
meals. That is the kind of goal that is inspirational, that
Yeah.
makes you wake up in the morning. I love that.
I love that. And how congruent, so
yeah.
many people want to do some charity. They want to give
yeah.
back, and then they spread themselves all over the place. And then you feel like, oh, I'm not getting any purchase for my efforts. But if you can find something to do that is in accordance with your missions and your values that you've already
Yeah.
decided, which or to him are to provide healthful foods to as many people as he can, and to
Yeah.
change people's orientation to food to where it's a good thing, it's a nourishment of your bodies, it's not something that will create disease and that sort of thing. And I think the timing is appropriate because he's trying to reach people. A lot of people are ignorant of nutrition, including a lot of doctors. They don't learn that. They treat disease. So
Yeah.
you've got to kind of get on your own about supplements, the kind of foods you need, get your lab work, talk to a physician who understands functional medicine, those sorts of things. But I just listened to a segment recently about how our diets are causing us to manifest ADHD symptoms. We eat these highly processed carbohydrates and sugars in the morning. We're up with our caffeine. We're open. We crash midday. Then we look for something else to help us with the crash, and then we're re-stimulating or whatever. And so by your food choices, you're
Yeah.
pinging all over the place. And now here, what do? You go to a doctor, ask me for a drug to fix all this, when really you got to look at your diet. So
We
I
need
love
people
where he's
like
coming from.
Leon Brunson to tell us how
Open
to
the door.
eat and make delicious food, fresh, good food that's healthy for us and not processed.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Talk more about it.
Yeah, we are going to go to a commercial break. When you come back, we have a lot more to talk about with regards to Mr. Leon Brunson.
This is about Carrie. It says, "There's not enough space, nor could I find enough words to articulate my experience with Fasig Brooks. Working closely with Carrie and Brittany has literally changed my life. Not only did they handle my case as if they were standing up for their own immediate family, we became like family. I've never felt alone in the process. I never felt like just another case, and the encouragement on the harder days would always lift me up. Absolutely everyone in the firm exudes a compassion for the cases they handle and a real passion to empower the lives of individuals and families far beyond a settlement. They are strong, resilient, will leave no rock unturned. I absolutely love Fasig Brooks.
I love that. I mean, I just have no words to explain how grateful I am that somebody feels like that about us.
Welcome back to Come Back Stronger, where we just heard the interviews of Chef Leon Brunson, who was a short order cook at Waffle House and developed a love for cooking. And then his father had an aneurysm, and so he decided to study neuroscience. But then the call of cooking just kept calling him, and so he ended up wanting to own a restaurant. COVID happens,
Right.
and so of course restaurants were the worst business to be in during
Yeah.
COVID. But But during COVID, he starts going online and selling his wares online and doing online cooking classes for people. And then when COVID was over, well, I guess it's not actually really ever going to be over, but when basically it had calmed down, he ends up now owning a restaurant, and he ends up on Hulu's Secret Chef. And so you can find him now on Hulu. There's 10 episodes, and he's a star. He's now a local celebrity. Dana, what was your biggest takeaway of Leon's story?
Okay, I had a couple. Okay, number one, I love that he focuses on his brand. This is a young man building a business, and if he just focused solely on his business, which is preparing food for other people, that'd be very limited. And COVID would have killed him. But he looked at, my brand is a chef that's providing healthful foods in an accessible way to people who otherwise might not have the time to eat them or the ability to afford them. And this is what I love about the Second Harvest Food Bank, because I was also on the board, a board member of this organization about 10 years ago. I can't say enough good things about it, but we were starting community gardens at the time, which is a way, in container gardening, which is a way to show you how you can grow your own greens, your own vegetables, your own tomatoes, peppers, all the things you need to make good, healthful meals. You can do it yourself, so you don't have to worry about that. I can't afford to go to Whole Foods or those beautiful produce places, or I don't have transportation to get to the markets or whatever. You can grow a lot of that stuff yourself. And he showed people that, and he built his brand during COVID by giving something for free that people want, something of value. I'm streaming. I'm telling you how to do this. You don't have to know a chef. You don't have to cook it the way your grandma did, because unfortunately, the way our food is processed now, if you cook like the way your granny did, you're probably with a heart attack at 55. So you got to watch it. And he's given information, he's given stuff for free, and people remember him when they do have some money, or they know some people have some money, so go eat at his place, go get his food boxes or whatever. But he's given his message to everybody at all levels, and that tells me he's walking his talk and he's living his passion.
He's living his passion. This is my big takeaway, is that this is a man who's living on a mission. I always encourage everybody to have a mission, a purpose in life that drives you. And so be able to define that mission, which is exactly what he did. He said he's lowering the bandwidth for people to cook and eat delicious meals. Anyway, great show. Thank you guys. Join us next week where we are going to bring you another story of somebody who has come back stronger.
So I think one of the important roles that a female lawyer has is understanding the family dynamic. The more you understand what people do for their families, the more money you can get people when they're injured and they can't service their families by everything that they're doing at home and at work. And I don't want to say that men don't understand that family dynamic, but I do think that statistics show that women understand that family dynamic more and can empathize and sympathize with it because of our own roles in our own homes.
And it helps offset some of these assumptions about women's claims, which is that they're inherently valued lower. It's easier to replace the things that they do. They're more menial. They're not higher earning career professionals. When you look at everything they do and what the negligence of the wrongdoer has caused them and this whole entire family, that adds up pretty fast. And you've got to have somebody who is looking out for you and knows to go after every single thing you are owed.